Do you want to know what all these vehicles have in common with each other? Whether we're street driving the vehicle, whether we're at the dyno making hits and making horsepower, or we're just at the track just sending, they all have a T5 transmission. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys like the intro. Those are two of my favorite vehicles that I've ever built. Project Hot Wheels, and of course, Dad's car, as you guys know. But we're not here to talk about those two vehicles, but one of the two things that came in common with those cars is they had a T5 transmission that we built here at Neomustangs. Guys, this is a do-it-yourself shop. 99% of the stuff we do here at the shop, we do by ourselves. On a budget, save some money on the labor, maybe to learn how to build. And that's kind of what I did with T5s over the years. I learned how to build them by trial and error and by paying attention to some of the rebuild videos that like Hanlon Motorsports put out years ago. So in this video, I'm going to show you pretty much for about 750 bucks how you can reinforce your T5 where you can make power, beat on it a little bit, and maybe it just might survive some of your power adders or even some of your lightly modified cars. But then again, it's all how you drive it. This isn't going to be a how-to video on how you actually rebuild a T5 transmission. No, this is going to be a little bit different. This is going to be how I made it hold 400 plus horsepower. We'll talk about that. We'll do some time lapses. I'll show you some of the parts that's made me successful with the T5 transmission over here on my benches. And we will go through just the important parts of what made my T5s last over 400 horsepower, because that's what you're here to see. And if you haven't noticed my overbearing box of broken gears, this is years of saving gears to be scrapped. And you can see there's lots of clusters and lots of third gears. But anyways, guys, let me open up these boxes, show you what I'm talking about. We'll go through it real briefly. I'll put you on a couple time lapses. Then we'll get to, we'll make something out of nothing today in this video. So actually I have a couple boxes to show you. This is actually a gear set that I got from Hanlon Motorsports. And here is some of the extra goodies that we get with every T5 transmission. Now, naturally, this isn't just a how-to on, how to build a transmission and what you should buy. Guys, I'm gonna actually send you on some time lapses, clean this main shaft, and we're gonna fill this main shaft with the gears, and we're gonna put it in that transmission. But we'll get to all that. Let's get these boxes unloaded, and let me show you what I'm talking about. But first things first, you guys know I've been hitting on the TKX a lot on my videos. I've tested the whole season on the TKX, made 700 wheel, basically trying to break the transmission. One of the things about the TKX, pretty much the replacement for the TKO, that made it successful and shifts really well is this three-piece design. The way this synchro is designed. Excellent upgrade. I'm gonna tell you what, guys, I shifted that thing over 7,000 RPM, shifted really well. So if you're looking to actually upgrade from a T5 to a better transmission and you can't afford a T56 Magnum, TKX is your next best option. I got a code, save yourself some money, free shipping, t-shirt, all that stuff. Go check out Hanlon Motorsports, they'll hook you up. Now, without further ado, we're gonna get into the box real quick and I'll stop talking and we will show you some of the things that's made me successful with this transmission. First things first, we have a cast iron retainer. This is super heavy duty. I've been using these for a long time. They've never failed me. The other thing I wanted to mention before I actually show it, Fort Muscle, if you check out that website, I'm gonna leave it in the description below, actually talks about strengthening your T5 and talks about it making more than 400 horsepower and being able to handle it. One of the main components outside of a really good retainer that I just showed you is this counter support plate. This is a billet steel counter support plate. Now, I bought this from Hanlon, and they actually have a guy that manufactures these literally to the thousands. Because this thing is what's going to keep your cluster from loading up under load, and with the countersunk, fits nicely behind the reverse. So with this in the back of your trans and this in the front of your trans, keeps your main shaft there, keeps your counter support. It can take a little bit more load than what it did in factory. Because this was the other thing behind the cluster, which is just a 10 piece of shit. This is why the cluster would come out of shim and it would just break gears. I'm not gonna sit here and bore you anymore. We're gonna get to work. We're gonna get this rebuild kit unloaded out of this box. I'll briefly explain and talk about it. Well, I'll get over to the transmission, show you what I do when I clean them up. Things to look for real quick, briefly. And then we'll open up this box and I'll show you the gear set that I used for this transmission. So stay tuned. I'm gonna put you on a couple time lapses. I'll stop in the middle of some of the rebuild and we'll talk about some of the things that, like this counter support plate and the shim. Let's get started. I want it all. I want it all. I want it all. And I want it now. So I got a setup here. Obviously you've seen this, the bearing retainer, which is a cast iron steel billet plate. This is the counter support. These are probably the two most important things in this build. You know, you got your carbon fiber blocker rings. You got your 3-piece blocker rings. I think they share these with the T45. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these synchros out of these packets. I'm gonna get them soaked in the transmission fluid that I normally use for soaking my synchronizers. And then I'm gonna bring over, show you the guys' case real quick. And then we're just gonna start T-minus more time lapse. All right, you can see here I got it all laid out. This is pretty much the kit. You know, you got your bearings, you got your synchros in here soaking, you got all your keys, locks, springs, whatever. I know I'm going kind of fast or whatever, but this is very important when you're rebuilding a T5. You get those support stuff, you get the new synchros, the small pieces, you know, and you go in and you replace any gears that might be broken or whatever. And honestly, guys, you're gonna get some longevity out of your T5. I'm telling you. On an empty street, the LA creeper, right on his feet. I gotta find the spirit. We don't die for now. All right, guys, so you see me open up the gears. I was checking the gears to make sure they weren't chipped or whatever, and you noticed that I actually found one that had a little bit of burring on the side of it. So you got to be careful. You know, especially with the cheaper gear set, that's all this really is. It's just stuff made in Indonesia for the most part. I just went with a cheaper gear set, first, second, third input, which is considered fourth, and your counter. If you notice from my box of death here, there's a lot of counters and there's a lot of thirds. Usually when third blows out, it usually goes ahead and takes the counter with it. So it's not uncommon. Sometimes you get lucky with the inputs though. When you pretty much mass an input down, you don't really damage any of the cluster because that gear is pretty tough. It's bigger, it's pretty tough or whatever. But all right, we're gonna continue. I'm gonna start getting, I've showed you the kit, I've showed you the gears. We're just gonna start slamming this T5 together. So I'll put you on some time lapses and we'll talk a little bit about the important things in the middle to look for with the, you know, like how the billet counter shaft goes in. It's gonna be pretty boring, but enjoy the video. It ain't much I'm asking, I heard it. Gotta find a future, move out of my way. I want it all, I want it all, I want it all. All right, so we got the older style 87, 89 transmission here. We're getting ready to sand this out a little bit. We're gonna go ahead and stick the bearing in with the seal. We're gonna get this cluster in. You got to press this in, and if you're pretty good at it, you could use a hammer or whatever. But a world-class T5 transmission looks like this. It's like a circle inside of a circle. If it looks like a freeze plug, it's not. It's a non-world-class transmission. And another dead giveaway of a non-world-class transmission is it doesn't have a neutral safety switch on the top. So when these things are cracking and you're having problems with cases, usually a lot of the things that crack, you know, you got to check your fill drain. They always like to crack around here. And then of course they always chip off at the ear because they're just not strong enough. And that's one of the main reasons why the T5 is weak, because of the case. The cases are pretty weak. TKX pretty much alleviated that, and they did that actually, the Tremec did that actually with the T56. So when you're rebuilding a T5, you definitely want to check out right here, because people try to, these are a tapered, this is a tapered plug. You don't have to torque the crap out of it to get it tight. Can't get around. You gotta give me a game plan. You gotta stay to the ground. Just give me what I know is mine. People, do you hear me? Just give me the sign. It ain't my time. Yeah, you want the truth. Here's to the future. All the dreams of you. Yeah, I want it all. Give it all. I want it all. So I wanted to stop real quick and show you guys the counter support plate, which is one of the most important parts of this build for strength. You can see how it goes right here. I showed an example of it earlier in the video. This little 10 piece of crap did not work sufficiently under high torque and load, specifically around like 400 or 500 torque, you know, whatever. But this thing seems to keep the counter together pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing, it's already got 100,000 shim in here. And I kind of already know what I'm looking at, because you get 100, 105, 110 or 12, and 115 or 20 in this shim pack. And you got to get it close. Most of the time it's right around about 112 when I've been using these. And this is a new gear set, so probably it'd be the 110 that I'm shimming. It's really important. Probably have a little bit of preload on it, but that's okay, it'll wear in. Let's get back into it. I got the countershaft in. You see me, I was shimming it up in the time lapse. I had to go through quite a few of them actually. It ended up being 125,000. Has no movement in it. It's going to be nice for the new rebuild. So let's go ahead and move our attention over to the main shaft. I'll hurry up and build this main shaft with these gears, and we'll go ahead and get that thing in here.
I'm a man with a one-track mind, so much to do in one lifetime. None of for compromise, just rise and rise and live it out. So I'm living it all. Yes, I'm living it all. And I'm giving it all.
Shaft done. It's got all the new gears put on it and all the springs and keys and stuff. We're about ready to go ahead and get over here and get this rail set up and put this main shaft in, and we'll be close to being finished with the T5. Again, this is normal operating procedure. A lot of my tools are rudimentary. You guys don't need special tools outside of pretty much a press and a vise to do something like this. It ain't nothing special. If you're gonna do it yourself, it's really a lot of really good information out there. Like I had mentioned earlier, Bob Hanlon's got his own DVD, and there's things on YouTube shows you how to rebuild. This is just the assembly part. Guys, this thing will hold 400 horsepower, I guarantee it, even with the cheap gear set. All right, so you guys see me put it in a tail shaft. One of the main reasons they leak in the back is this little seal back here. They like to come up and leak right here, but the main thing is this sleeve, this seal. But another thing, you need to make sure that you check your yoke, because if your yoke's getting really out of shape and it's getting really worn out, that also will cause a leak. So there's a lot of things when you guys are complaining about these T5s, like, oh, it leaks, blah, blah, blah. These are some things that are worth its weight in gold as far as the experience, or as far as understanding the T5 is a seal, that sleeve, that yoke, and even this little seal right here, all need to be replaced when you're rebuilding. That way you keep it from leaking or whatever. So anyways, we got the tail shaft ready. All we're gonna do is put it on. We're gonna shim. I'll put you on a time lapse. pretty much done with this. I just got to put a, I got to take the front retainer back off, glue it down, and put the shim in that we choose. But that's about it. We'll talk here in a second. That got tight. All right, guys, we're getting towards the end of the build. I know it's been a long video or whatever, but we're at the point now we're gonna go ahead and shim that up. I like to run about 0 + 1 on the tolerance because it's gonna actually wear in a little bit. And this is where you're gonna get that silver hue when you do your first transmission, like after about 100 or so, 150 miles or whatever, you want to change the fluid again. You just use Dex 3, Dextron, Merc, whatever. But you can see I got this all set up. I'm going to go ahead and shim it up, and we are pretty much done. All right, guys, it's not fancy. It's what we do here. Now it's rudimentary tools, stuff I've been doing for a long time. You know, when you get into that rhythm of doing the same thing for so long, you just keep doing what you're doing, what you're good at, you know what I mean? But there you have it. Rebuilt from something to nothing. New gear set, all new rebuild kit. Pretty much the same thing that you get from Summit Racing and all these other retailers that try to sell these things for like $2 grand or $2,300 or whatever. I sell a T5 swap quite often, and that's pretty much what my customers can appreciate. You know, this is done right, you know, and you see it in the videos and all the time lapses. So I'm sorry that the video went so long. If you guys have a T5 or rebuilt your own T5, comment below. Let me know what you guys think. Don't beat me up too much. It's a 3-man band here at the shop, and we enjoy doing Foxbody related content like this. So make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe on the way out. Check that join button for channel membership. There is perks for being a member of the channel, especially early viewing of the and merch. We live stream on Sundays at 8, most Sundays. So guys, I appreciate the watch time. I will see you guys soon in the next shorter video.